Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Climate Voters Tonight. We're going to give people just a couple seconds to join us, and then we're going to get started. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Climate Voters Tonight. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. We are so glad that you've joined us tonight. We're going to be taking a deep dive into how the Biden administration is leading the charge on electric vehicles and give you a way to make your voice heard. Then we're going to recap an event that we held in Las Vegas recently that focused on a grant recently received by the city that will allow it to mitigate extreme heat by improving its urban tree canopy. But first, it's been a busy 2 weeks in climate news, so let's dive right into the headlines. Well, if you tuned into Climate Voters Tonight 2 weeks ago, you'll remember we promised to keep you updated on the situation with the Speaker of the House. The same promise we made 2 weeks before that. Well, yesterday, the saga finally came to an end. Representative Mike Johnson of Louisiana is the new Speaker of the House. You may be wondering who now Speaker Johnson is, so let me bring you up to speed. He has relatively limited experience in congressional leadership, voted against the certification of the 2020 election, is a climate science denier, and has introduced legislation to weaken the Endangered Species Act. We'll be watching to see if Johnson and Republicans in Congress will work across the aisle to pass responsible appropriations bills to keep our government open. Of course, we'll keep you updated as developments occur. All right. There is, however, some good climate news out there as well. Recently, the Department of Energy announced $3.5 billion from President Biden's Clean Energy Plan will be invested in 58 projects across 44 states, strengthening the grid and promoting clean energy. This investment will create jobs, save families money, and combat climate change. We'll drop a link in the chat so you can read more about this exciting announcement. In Pennsylvania, our partners at the Environmental Defense Fund joined Governor Shapiro to celebrate the 100th orphaned or abandoned well plugged by his administration. Plugging these wells is a smart, common-sense way to combat climate change, promote public health, and create thousands of jobs in the process. Thank you, Governor Shapiro, for combining state funds with federal resources to identify and plug these wells to support thriving communities in Pennsylvania. Finally, as we prepare for a busy news cycle in 2024, misinformation is on the rise and poses a threat to the public's perception of the climate crisis, clean energy solutions, and elections. So this is a reminder that we're hosting an event tomorrow, Friday, October 27th from 12 to 1 p.m. Eastern Time, where we'll be joined by experts on misinformation who will be debunking the latest climate misinformation news trends, discussing how fake news impacts democracy, and learning how to get involved in the fight against misinformation online. We'll drop the Mobilize link in the comments so you can sign up. I hope to see you there. All right, moving on. Our main story tonight concerns electric vehicles. As you probably know, the Inflation Reduction Act recently passed by Congress includes historic incentives to supercharge, pun intended, the adoption of electric vehicles across America. These incentives include an up to $7,500 tax credit for qualifying new EVs and $4,000 for used ones. Crucially, EVs are now more affordable than they have ever been. A growing number of electric cars are now less expensive to own and operate than comparable gas-powered vehicles. A new report from the Environmental Defense Fund and WSP has found that EV owners could save more than $18,000 over the life of a vehicle in avoided fuel and maintenance costs. And the good news is the savings and tax credits are working. More and more EVs are being introduced and costs are declining, which means even more choices for consumers. But we're seeing big oil and some politicians are trying to mislead the public about the benefits of EVs. We simply can't let this happen. Electric vehicles will reduce pollution, save you money, and protect your health. To that end, our partners at EDF recently launched a brilliant new ad campaign to set the record straight. And the work doesn't end there. There are steps the Biden administration can and is taking to make electric vehicles more affordable and accessible. For instance, the Treasury Department recently released a policy that will allow consumers, starting in 2024, to get upfront the $7,500 for eligible vehicles. The EPA has also proposed new standards that set strong protective limits on tailpipe pollution from cars and passenger trucks. Those standards will dramatically cut climate and health-harming pollution, recognizing the increasing availability of zero-emitting solutions. That also helps to support increased consumer choices and more savings for consumers choosing electric options. Adopting these strong standards will provide drivers with more choices and greater affordability while reducing pollution that harms people's health and the climate. But the administration needs to hear from you. So add your voice at edfaction.org/clean cars. We'll drop that link in the comments so you can take a look. Finally, tonight, let's turn our attention to the Southwest, where EDF Action teamed up with Defend Our Future to celebrate a recent grant received by the City of Las Vegas to improve its urban tree canopy. Tree cover is a natural way to mitigate extreme heat. We couldn't be more excited for the residents of Las Vegas and Southern Nevada. Let's have a watch.
It's 12:02. I'm delighted to be here this afternoon, to be among the very first to wish all of you a happy afternoon. My name is David Kiva. I'm the president of EDF Action, the advocacy partner of the Environmental Defense Fund. You know, Nevadans need no reminder that the climate crisis is real. They see it every single day. They see it because this is one of the fastest heating places anywhere in the United States. It's getting faster here every single year than just about anywhere else. They see it in the record drought that we've experienced, and they've seen it in recent flooding exacerbated by climate change. All of these problems are made worse by the climate crisis. We also have an enormous moment of opportunity because some of those root challenges, a lack of political power, are changing. I was looking forward to introducing my friend and somebody who I deeply admire, Congressman Steve Horsford, who not only does an excellent job of representing the people of this district, he chairs the Congressional Black Caucus in Washington. Thanks to Steve's leadership and those of his colleagues, we're making significant headway with the passage of the Inflation Reduction Act and its implementation. One of the things that the Inflation Reduction Act has done is providing funding via the Forest Service so that underserved neighborhoods, previously disadvantaged communities, can have greater access to green space.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Assembly District 1. I am honored to join EDF Action, Congressman Horsford's office, and my friend, Senator Flores, and so many critical environmental leaders today to celebrate the Inflation Reduction Act and the progress it's supported in Nevada. No state has felt the impact of the ongoing climate crisis like Nevada. It's why we've long been ahead of the game when it comes to sustainability. As chair of the Ways and Means Committee and former chair of the Growth and Infrastructure Committee, I know infrastructure isn't just roads and bridges. It has everything to do with investing in clean energy, new technologies, and equitable development in every single one of our communities. Nevada has already received continued investment from this legislation, including the Urban Community Forestry Grants. And someone earlier said they'd never seen that word on a banner before, so that's great to have it today. These grants are coming to education hubs like UNLV and our cities to help educate our communities on climate change and provide job training. They're investing in equitable expansion of green spaces across our state. We must continue the work, and we must continue to work together to combat climate change, secure additional funding for urban and forestry programs, and to ensure that the future generations of our great state have access to safer and cleaner future.
Studies show that communities with more trees and green spaces experience improved health, including mental health, lower temperatures, and less pollution. But perhaps unlike other climate statistics, we don't need a study to tell us this. At least this we know very intuitively. Thankfully, Nevada has received more than $15 million in funding from the Inflation Reduction Act to expand green spaces in our state.
I am Senator Edgar Flores, and it's an absolute honor to be amongst such amazing human beings that are doing so much work in the state of Nevada, essential work. I join you today to just briefly share my enthusiasm and gratitude for our amazing congressional delegation. Thanks to their leadership, and in particular to the leadership of Congressman Stephen Horsford, we are celebrating 1 year of the Inflation Reduction Act that just passed this past August. And that meant more than $15 million to the state of Nevada going to our local government, schools, and nonprofits. And that's a significant amount of money. But more importantly, let me tell you why it's such a personal thing to me. This past legislative session, I worked with the Nevada Environmental Justice Coalition and the leadership of our Assemblywoman, Danielle Monroe Moreno, and other members of the Democratic Party. And I put forth Senate Bill, and I just want to make sure I get the right number, Senate Bill 427. I misquoted it last time. And the purpose of that bill was to work on specifically protecting outdoor workers who work in excessive heat conditions or in areas of poor air quality. It is a huge problem in the state of Nevada, and it was something that was very personal to me. I remember as a kid, my father cleaned pools, and he would take me on the weekends to work. Like any other family, we're struggling, and there wasn't the option of daycare. So going to work was daycare. But I remember when my father would do that, he would hold my little hand, and he would always make sure I sat underneath some tree or near a wall, because he always wanted to make sure I was shaded. Always. And he would buy me a Gatorade or just huge XYZ of whatever a kid loves at that age, right? And I share that story because now that I've had an opportunity to grow up and see myself in a role of protecting families, I asked the question, who's doing that for the dad? Right? What my dad was doing for me at that age, who was doing that for the parent? And so when I see our congressional delegation spearheading and getting behind efforts like this, we're sending a very clear message across the entire country. That we see you. We understand that there are families that are out there every single day taking care of their families, working in excessive heat conditions and poor air quality conditions. And we want you to be able to do that. We want you to be able to do it safely. So by promoting these green spaces, we're not only making it a better place for our kids, which is why we're all here, but we're also saying thank you to those families. We're saying thank you to those parents who are out there taking care of those kids.
All right, that'll do it for us tonight. As always, thank you so much for joining us. We hope to see you back here in 2 weeks. Climate Voters Unite.